it with music, beautiful music.
Hello, I'm Fred Miller, and before we launch into my lecture and song on the golden age of operetta, let me introduce you to a great music fan here and a good friend named Clyde here, who always seems to show up just as the camera is about to go on. Not a camera-shy figure at all here. A little background on me. I was born in Albuquerque, had a great classical piano teacher, and I was absolutely enamored of Bach, Beethoven, and Brahms, and I was interested in the lives of the composers and all the history surrounding their lives and the great music, as I was the music itself. That went on really I was very excited by it right through the age of 13. Right the day I turned 13, the Beatles arrived in America, and suddenly my musical loyalties were somewhat split between classical music and the great rock songs of the 60s. That went on through my teen years till after the summer after I graduated from high school. I hitchhiked with a friend from New Mexico to the Woodstock Festival, and I even managed to show up in the poster very prominently. That was it for rock music. For some reason, I guess it was as good as it was going to get. I decided not really to go to college. I went very, very briefly, left and got a VW bug, traveled all over America, settled in Greenwich Village, and at some point somebody gave me an album of Ella Fitzgerald singing Cole Porter, and here I am. Gershwin, Porter, Kern, Rogers, Berlin, Fred Astaire, Judy Garland, Ethel Merman, Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby, whole amazing age of American popular song. I came up with the notion of doing lectures in song. Each one would be a profile of a great personality or some aspect of this great field. And I started at the time, initially way back when, with 6 programs, and now to date I have 75 different lectures in song, each one described in detail at fredmillermusic.com. The program here at hand, I call it the golden age of operetta. I think most people know, of course, what grand opera is. They think, of course, of Mozart and Verdi and Wagner and Bellini and Rossini and Donizetti and everything big, kings and sort of historical events and tragedy and treacherous villains and so on. But not all grand opera actually is tragic. There's The Barber of Seville and Marriage of Figaro and Così fan tutti, The Elixir of Love. But this whole new kind of form came up, something a little lighter. Even the very name, operetta, sounds something light and frilly and airy and bubbly, and that's exactly what it is. It really sort of evolved, I guess, in in these great centers of culture in Europe in the 19th century. In Vienna and Berlin and Budapest, you have the Strausses, you have Lehar and Kallmann, and then you have in Paris, you have Offenbach, and in London, you have Gilbert and Sullivan. And then comes this great mass immigration, and all these Europeans and people from brought all this over to America with them. And in the bargain, of course, we got the roots of what became the distinctly American musical theater. This operetta really is sort of the bridge between the old world and the new world. And I think the figure who may be most responsible for creating that, bridging that gap, was Oscar Hammerstein II. Much later, instrumental, of course, in writing those marvelous works with Richard Rodgers. But early in his career, he was writing with Sigmund Romberg and Rudolf Frimmel. And then, of course, with Jerome Kern, started writing really American musicals as well. Well, the roots are in the fatherland, and let's go back there first. And, of course, what was the drink of choice for operetta? I mean, the spirit is champagne. Champagne's delicious bubbles, tra-la-la-la-la-la. Banish all our troubles, tra-la-la-la-la-la. It mellows politicians and better world's conditions. All diplomats and rulers should keep it in their coolers. We toast champagne, the essence of the essence, the king of effervescence, the king of effervescence. A toast, a toast, a toast. His Majesty we celebrate, celebrate, long and late, joyously together we toast champagne the great. His Majesty we celebrate, celebrate, long and late, joyously together we toast champagne the great. That's the spirit. Well, of course, were people always that happy? I mean, people look back and say, oh, life must have been so much more wonderful. Well, on the contrary, I think music like operetta came out of course, the great, great difficulties of life. I mean, let's face it, during the Great Depression, we had songs like to counter the difficulties of life. Well, let's look at these empires one by one that spawned this wonderful art form called light opera or operetta. First, of course, the British Empire, really at its grandest and greatest in the 19th century, ruled over by this very great imperious figure named Victoria, who gave her name to that age. And the exponents of operetta in Victorian London, nobody more prominent than, of course, Gilbert and Sullivan. They were very heavy on the social commentary and character. That was Mr. Gilbert's doing, of course, and Sullivan's wonderful melodies went right with it. So here's a little example here. Now, I mean, we'll take HMS Pinafore, which is consummate Gilbert and Sullivan, and in a way it's consummate operetta. It always starts, all these things always start with men sort of flexing their muscles. Oh, we sail the ocean blue, and our saucy ship's a beauty. We're sober men and true, and attentive to our duty. When the ball whistles free o'er the bright blue sea, we stand to our guns all day. While at anchor we ride on the Portsmouth side, we've plenty of time for play. Ahoy, ahoy, the ball whistles free. Ahoy, ahoy, o'er the bright blue sea, we stand to our guns all day. Oh, we sail the ocean blue, and our saucy ship's a beauty. We're sober men and true, and attentive to our duty. Our saucy ship's a beauty. We're attentive to our duty. We're sober men and true. We sail the ocean blue. You look at these guys a little closer, and you see they're all too human. I am the monarch of the sea, the ruler of the Queen's navy, whose praise Great Britain loudly chants, and we are his sisters and his cousins and his aunts, his sisters and his cousins and his aunts. When at anchor here I ride, my bosom swells with pride, and I snap my fingers at the foeman's taunts, and so do his sisters and his cousins and his aunts, his sisters and his cousins and his aunts. But when the breezes blow, I generally go below and seek the seclusion that a cabin grants, and so do his sisters and his cousins and his aunts, his sisters and his cousins, whom he reckons up by dozens, and his aunts. I am the captain of the Pinafore, and a right good captain too. I'm very, very good, and be it understood, I command a right good crew. Oh, ready to appear, I can hand, weave, and steer, or ship a selvagee. I am never known to quail at the fury of a gale, and I'm never, never sick at sea. Never, no, never, what, never, well, hardly ever, I'm hardly ever sick at sea. Then give 3 cheers and 1 cheer more for the hardy captain of the Pinafore. Give 3 cheers and 1 cheer more for the captain of the Pinafore. Not terribly serious stuff. Fun, fun, fun. Well, you have the Pirates of Penzance, you have the Mikado, and all the rest. But let's move on to a different empire and a different source of operetta, and that was across the channel, deep into the heart of Mitteleuropa. And you have the Austro-Hungarian Empire ruled over by the Emperor Franz Joseph. That empire, which had been around for, I think, even longer than the British Empire, certainly, for 1,000 years, its days were numbered as of the turn of the 20th century. Come World War I, it was over. Suddenly, who would have ever dreamed? But in those years leading up to World War I, Vienna was really one of the great cultural centers, I think, of all history, certainly of the modern world. And for operetta, you can do no better and really no more prominent than The Merry Widow by Franz Lehár. It's light and gay and classic operetta. Merry Widow was such a smash. I mean, it was a merchandiser's dream. There were Merry Widow hats, there were Merry Widow corsets, Merry Widow cigars, Merry Widow, everything was Merry Widow. And of course, the success not only in Vienna, then that spread to London and in turn spread to America. In fact, it set the American musical theater back because operetta was such a craze, thanks to the Merry Widow. So here's a sampling of that kind of gaiety. Oh, fatherland, you turn my days into a never-ending maze. A diplomat at least deserves his evening to repair his nerves. I'm always at my desk by noon, but I am somewhere else quite soon. They can't expect for what they pay to keep me at my desk all day. And after such a taxing day, I need to spend my night at play. So when the dreary days are done, I dedicate my nights to fun. I'm going to Maxime's, where pleasure brightly gleams. With girls in this oasis, I'm on a first-name basis. Lolo, do, juju, clo, margo, foo. They help me to forget you, beloved fatherland. There is no operetta without a waltz. Oh, listen to the waltz, ah, feel the rhythm. Hear the sweet voice of the music. Hear it murmur its message to sound advice. Please let me carry you lightly to paradise. My beautiful and bright bells of the ballroom. Here are partners to be chosen. To be lay would be a sin. Very well then, let's begin. As the flowers of April and May come awake in a glowing display, so do slumbering hearts everywhere wake when the waltz fills the air. When the melody surges and spins, summoned forth by the charmed violins, there is no other way but to smile and obey. We must dance when the waltz begins. Songs are sighing, why deny that I love you? Now they sigh in soft reply, I love you too. Music says it simply, hear each loving tone. Yes, it's true, it's you I love alone. We couldn't find a way to say what we would say, but now it's very clear that I am yours and you are mine. We've gone soaring to the heights, and starting with this night of nights, forever will our hearts and souls entwine. Songs are sighing, why deny that I love you? Now they sigh in soft reply, I love you too. Music says it simply, hear each loving tone. Yes, it's true, it's you I love alone. The Merry Widow wasn't the only one. There were others, like The Chocolate Soldier by Oscar Strauss, with one S at the end. Come, come, I love you only, my heart is true. Come, come, I love you only, I long for you. Come, come, naught can efface you, my arms are aching now to embrace you. Thou art divine. Come, come, I love you only, thou hero mine. Well, of course, now come the 20th century. This great wave of immigration, and as said, over to America, all these Europeans came and brought with them all this magnificent music. And really, I think it's the mark of another great civilization, really something to rival these great empires of the past. This one, though, not ruled over by kings, but just simply the spirit of freedom. and you have this golden age of popular entertainment, and really the very beginnings of it. Of course, we know about later on of Gershwin and Porter and Kern and Rogers and Berlin, but before that came a number of personalities, three particular ones, the great triumvirate of operetta composers in America. One was an Irishman, one was a Czech, Bohemian to be exact, and then another one was a Hungarian. First, Victor Herbert came over in about 1883, I think it was. He had gotten a contract to play the cello in the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra. The Metropolitan Opera, this was the first season. His wife was a singer there. She sang on stage. He played the cello in the pit. And eventually, he would find his way into composing and would become really the most important figure in American popular music, really, certainly in the musical theater. There was nobody to rival Victor Herbert. And from the 1890s, really through World War I, and very shortly thereafter. And, of course, new things would take its place. But in his time, nobody was bigger than Victor Herbert. An example here, the fortune teller, all these exotic locales, that's consummate Herbert, always Hungary or Africa or whatever, and every now and then America, but always, of course, with this spirit of sort of exotic kind of flavor. Through the forest, wild and free, sounds our meagre melody. Ever dancing, none can be half so merry as are we. Faster twirling, with leap and bound. Oh, dance, Zigeuner, do music sound, hanging ever. Our song is gay, oh, sing, Zigeuner, why yet ye may. Through the forest, wild and free, sounds our mega melody. Ever dancing, as they say, none so merry and none so gay, singing Romany, oh, through the forest, wild and free, sounds our mega melody. Ever dancing, none can be half so merry as lads of Romany, none so gay as we the lads of Romany, none so gay as we the lads of Romany. Hey, 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 hey! Very sedate, of course. So, innocence and fantasy. This is all written in America by this Irishman, Victor Herbert. The innocence is all there, and the romance. Toyland, Toyland, little girl and boyland, while you dwell within it, you are ever happy then. Childhood's joyland, mystic merry toyland, once you pass its borders you can ne'er return again. The typical male Herbert character, not so perfect, full of himself, of course, matched step by step by the ladies, but first the gentleman here, if you call him a gentleman. If a pair of blue eyes have deceived you, and a pair of red lips say you nay, don't appeal to champagne, all its bubbles are vain, you will only feel worse the next day. Vet fortune snub and drop into the club where you know all the good fellows are. The tonic your laughter is gossip and laughter, you light up a long dark cigar. Puff, 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 watching the smoke arising. Puff, 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 soon you'll be realizing that which the poets have written is true, that love is a practical joke. For a woman is only a woman, my boy, but a good cigar is a smoke. Mademoiselle Modiste produced a typical Herbert lady. There once was a lovely young maid with beautiful baby blue eyes. Of men she said she was afraid. I'm afraid that dear maiden was wise. The maid had a dear little dog, and the doggy was very well bred. And she loved him because he would give her his paws or sit up or lie down, as she said. Now the men despised the doggy, and the dog despised the men. For the maid would play with the dog each day, but she never would play with them. To the men she said, "You're stupid!" and it left them in a fog. For you see, said she, if you must love me, you will have to love my dog. Now one of these stupid young men decided to marry the maid. He hadn't decided just when, 'twas a difficult game that he played. He tried to make friends with the dog, and the maiden he left all alone. For he knew in the end, with the dog for his friend, he could make the young maiden his own. Now the man he liked the doggy, and the dog he liked the man. But the maiden fair he neglected her, and the jealousy began. Well, he bought the dog a collar, and the maiden said, "You see that a collarette doesn't suit my pet, but you might buy one for me." He bought her a nice collarette, all studded with diamonds and pearls. He seemed to entirely forget how perverse is the nature of girls. She took it and threw it aside, and treated him worse than before. For he clearly had proved that 'twas she that he loved, and to really be loved is a bore. Now again he called the doggy, and he left the maid again. And the dog he told of the maiden cold, and it gave the dog great pain. Well, his whine was sympathetic, and he sat on the young man's knee. And the maid said, "Here, you can disappear. That's a place reserved for me." All the sort of little flirtations aside, there was romance. This is the essence of operetta. Romance, life, not necessarily as it is, but as one hopes. Ah, dear one, how often I think of the past. Can it be you forget? Perchance was a passion too wondrous to last, that I dream of it yet. I see you again as you gaze in my eyes, with joy all alike. So fondly you told me, softly you told me, of love through the star-sprinkled night. Sweet summer breeze, whispering trees, stars shining softly above, roses in bloom, wafted perfume, sleepy birds dreaming of love. Safe in my arms, far from alarms, daylight may come, but in vain. Tenderly pressed close to my breast, kiss me again. Kiss me again. The Red Mill was one of the most popular of Herbert's operettas, revived many, many times. It starts in Europe. It's about these two vaudevillians, one named Con Kidder and the other one named Kid Connor. These vaudevillians touring around Europe, and they finally make their way to back to America. And of course, they behave like typical Herbert men here. Every day is Ladies' Day with me. I'm quite at their disposal all the while, and my pleasure it is double when they come to me in trouble, for I always find a way to make them smile, the little darlings. I've no doubt I should have married long ago. It's the proper thing to do, you'll all agree, but I never could find any fun in wasting all my times on one was every day is Lady Day with me. Well, it always has a happy ending. All these Gibson girls running around. In dear old New York, it's remarkable, very. The name on the lamppost is unnecessary. You merely have to see the girls to know which street you're on. Fifth Avenue beauties and dear old Broadway girls, the tailor-made shoppers, the Avenue A girls. They're strictly all right, but they're different quite in the different parts of town. In old New York, the peach crop's always fine, the sweet and fair, and on the square the maids of Manhattan for mine. You cannot see in gay Paris, in London, or in Cork the queens you'll meet on any street in old New York. Naughty Marietta, which was produced by Oscar Hammerstein the First, the grandfather of the celebrated lyricist, librettist. This was really a quite, I think maybe Herbert's high point. Certainly, it's one of the most revived. And most of these operettas, I think many of us know because of the movies. Later on, Jeanette MacDonald and Nelson Eddy made operetta. Of course, that was their medium. That was their form of entertainment. Music by Victor Herbert, lyrics by Rita Johnson Young, and who happened to be one of the most successful women in American songwriting. And of course, Naughty Marietta, well, it takes place not in Africa, not in Hungary, but in fact in New Orleans. This high-spirited Italian girl just turns everything upside down. But of course, you got to have the marching men here. Tramp, tramp, tramp along the highway. Tramp, 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 the road is free. Blazing trails along the byway. Courrier de bois are we. Tramp, 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 now clear the roadway. Room, 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 the world is free. We're planters and Canucks, Virginians and Kentucks. Captain Dick's own infantry. Captain Dick's own infantry. In Marietta, turning the place upside down. Ah, my heart is back in Napoli, dear Napoli, dear Napoli, and I seem to hear again in dreams her sweet reverie, her sweet revelry. The mandolina's playing sweet, the pleasant fall of dancing feet. Oh, could I return, oh joy complete, Napoli, Napoli, Napoli. Zing, 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 boom, boom, eh. Zing, 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 mandolina's gay. Zing, 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 boom, boom, eh. La, 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 ha, ha, zing, boom, eh. La, 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 zing, boom, eh. Oh, hey. Naturally, the romantic waltz, for I'm falling in love with someone. Someone, girl, I'm falling in love with someone, head a whirl. Yes, I'm falling in love with someone, plain to see. I'm sure I could love someone madly if someone would only love me. And parodied many, many times, but really quite lovely. Certainly the essence of romance, the essence of operetta. Ah, the sweet mystery of life, at last I found thee. Ah, at last I know the secret of it all. All the longing, seeking, striving, waiting, yearning, the burning hopes, the joy, and idle tears that fall. For 'tis love and love alone the world is seeking, and 'tis love and love alone that can repay. 'Tis the answer, 'tis the end, and all of living, for it is love alone that rules forever. Ah, there's so many others. Beautiful waltz here from The Enchantress of 1911. Land of romance, so near, so far, their dreams will all come true. Through the dark night, fate's silver star, guided to love and you. And when your eyes look into mine, I found in your first glance the hand and the heart that'll lead me on to the land of my own romance. Sweethearts now brings us to 1914. Times were going to change, musical trends would change, but Herbert was still right at the forefront. And here, a classic Herbert girl. The lively Jeanette, far famed for frivolity, a sprightly coquette who lived just for jollity, had plenty of suitors, had only to choose, and being a Dutch girl she wore wooden shoes. When she stole out at night, all the town knew the news when they heard the pitter-patter of her wooden shoes. And the boys half asleep, oh how jealous they'd get, and they say to themselves, who is out with Jeanette? Clippity-clop, clop, clippity-clop, clop, there on the tiles, her feet so petite, but you heard her for miles. With a bitter, 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 clip, clop, clop, gossip pursues the secrets betrayed by Jeanette's wooden shoes. The king's son and heir found her quite adorable. Paul thought the affair extremely deplorable. One cold winter night, when the town was asleep, the two stole away, though the snow was quite deep. The king cried, pursue them, which way did they go? The guards and the courtiers, they ran to and fro, and he might be pursuing those two lovers yet, but those wooden shoe tracks in the snow spelled Jeanette. Clappity-clop, clap, clappity-clop, plop, there in the snow, her feet so petite showed them which way to go. With a bitter, 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 clip, clop, clop, they found the clues, and Jeanette lost her prince through the prints of her shoes. It's inevitable that Herbert would write an operetta set in his own colorful native land of Ireland, and that was Eileen, written rather late in his career in 1917 with his longtime collaborator Henry Blossom. Tell me, why is there a doubt within thy heart, my own? Tell me why. I but fear the time will come when we must part. Alas, I should die. Evermore, by day, by night, I dream of thee, my darling. My heart is but thine, thine alone. Thine alone, in thine arms enfold me, my beloved. Let thine eyes look fondly into mine, for thy love bears a spell all too wondrous to tell. 'Tis a rapture that's all too divine. So within thy tender arms enfold me. For thy loss the world cannot atone. Beloved, I swear that I will e'er be true, and forever thine alone, thine alone. It was now past World War I, and the world, in a sense, had lost its innocence. So much was different. There was still, of course, much beautiful romantic music to be made. In Victor Herbert's case, this would be just a melody, actually, that he wrote, a rather melancholy one, that in a way reflects that post-war mood. The lyrics were added much later in the 1930s, but it really speaks the sort of sense that there was something had ended. Summer, you old Indian summer, you're the tear that comes after June time's laughter. You see so many dreams that don't come true, dreams we fashioned when summertime was new. You are here to watch over some heart that is broken by a word that somebody left unspoken. You're the ghost of a romance in June, going astray, fading too soon. That's why I say farewell to you, Indian summer. Herbert would turn his attention to so-called legitimate music, meaning classical music, grand opera, and so on, never with really much success, nowhere near the success of his light operas that, of course, is what we remember him for. We were entering the jazz age in the 1920s, and things were most definitely. Herbert would die in the spring of 1924, just 2 months after the premiere of Rhapsody in Blue, to give you some idea, of course, of how the variety, of course, of musical tastes and, of course, how things were evolving and changing. Herbert, in his time, my goodness, he was so highly regarded. Margaret Whiting said that her father said at one point, her father, the composer Richard Whiting, said, "We'll never surpass Victor Herbert." In those days, Victor Herbert was looked upon as being the ultimate in what was possible in American popular music and popular entertainment. Things did change, of course. Well, though Herbert was gone by 1924, that happens to be the very year that the second of the great triumvirate of great operetta composers, American operetta composers, scored his biggest success, and that was Rudolf Frimmel. Frimmel was a Czechoslovakian, Bohemian, I guess to be exact in those days. He was born 1879, was a classical pianist, and then came to America, worked for the Hammerstein organization in 1912, along with Otto Harbach, on an operetta called The Firefly. It was a huge success. And again, Frimmel's style was terribly flowery.
For I adore you, Giannina mia. More, 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 I adore you, Giannina mia.
It was 1924, as said, that he scored his greatest success, and it was in its time. In 1924, it was the biggest hit on Broadway, musical, dramatic, or otherwise, and that was Rosemarie. And it featured, of course, Rudolf Frimmel's music, but it also featured the lyrics and libretto of Otto Harbach and his charge, a man named Oscar Hammerstein II. As I said, this was the beginning of Hammerstein's phenomenal career, in which he really set out, maybe unconsciously, to transform the American musical theater, or create an American musical theater out of this very European form called operetta. And in this, even in Rosemarie, already the sophistication and sort of the new kind of forms were at work. There's serious themes in Rosemarie. It's not just light and frilly and silly. There's murder and there's racism in Rosemarie. All those issues are brought up somehow, of course. But the music and the entertainment is certainly there. And again, thanks to Jeanette and Nelson, we know about this one here. Of course, the marching men in the case of Rosemarie are Mounties. Far over the snow, what are those voices over the snow? They sing as they go. What are those voices? Sing as they go. Look out for the Mounties, for here come the Mounties. We come. Somebody hide, somebody better hide. On through the hill, like a pack of angry wolves on the trail. We're after you, dead or alive. We're out to get you, dead or alive. And we'll get you sure if you're the one. Better run away. Son, you are done. Throw your gun away. Here come the Mounties to get the man we're after. No! The title character, Rosemarie, is a flapper. Oh, sweet Rosemarie, 'tis easy to see why all who learn to know you love you. You're gentle and kind, divinely designed, as graceful as the pines above you. There's an angel's breath beneath your sigh. There's a little devil in your eye. Oh, Rosemarie, I love you. I'm always dreaming of you. No matter what I do, I can't forget you. Sometimes I wish that I had never met you. And yet, if I should lose you, it would mean my very life to me. Of all the queens who ever ruled, I choose you to rule me, my Rosemarie. And most famously, parodied often, quite lovely music. So echoes of sweet love notes gently fall.
through the forest stillness that's fond waiting, Indian lovers call. When the lone lagoon stirs in the spring, welcoming home some swanny white wing, when the maiden moon, riding the sky, gathers her star-eyed green children nigh. That is the time of the moon and the year, when love dreams to Indians, maidens appear, and this is the song that they hear. When I'm calling you, will you answer too? That means I offer my love to you, to be my own. If you refuse me, I will be blue and waiting all alone. But if when you hear my love call ringing clear, and I hear your answering echo so dear, then I will know our love will come true. You'll belong to me, I'll belong to you. 1925, the year after, Rosemarie. Another kind of swashbuckling kind of romance here, The Vagabond King, starring Dennis King. Only a rose I give you, only a song dying away, only a smile to keep in memory until we meet another day. Only a rose to whisper, blushing as roses do. I'll bring along a smile or a song for anyone. Only a rose for you. Francois Villon, The Marching Men. Come, you sons of David, will you serve us and run, bow down to Burgundy? Sons of shame and sorrow, will you cheer tomorrow for the crown of Burgundy? Onward, onward, sword against the foe. Forward, forward, the lily banners go. Sons of France around us, break the chain that bound, and to hell with Burgundy. Frimmel really wouldn't have much success beyond the 1920s. He lived until the 1970s, had many marriages apparently, lived a very colorful sort of, elaborate sort of life, and based on having made a fortune in the 1920s with Rosemarie. The third of the great operetta triumvirate, from Hungary, different nationality, Sigmund Romberg. This was a career that, again, was most prominent in the 1920s when that golden age of American operetta was at its peak. It carried on through the 1940s and even into the early 50s. Romberg had a career as a conductor, traveled with his orchestra, made many recordings. Born in 1887 in Hungary, he was sent to Vienna by his parents to study engineering, but I guess he was just caught up in all the magic, of course, of Vienna at the turn of the century, The Merry Widow and Lehar and all the rest, and wrote a note to his parents saying, I'm heading for Paris and London, and I guess eventually America. He was going to be a musician, much to his parents' horror, and that's where his career really was. By 1919, he had written his first hit, which was called Maytime. Ah, love is so sweet in the springtime, when blossoms are fragrant in May. No years that are coming and bring time to make me forget, dear, this day. Love you in life's great December, same as I love you today. My heart ever true will remember the thrill it knew that day in May. Sweetheart, 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 will you love me ever? Will you remember this day when we were happy in May? My dearest one, sweetheart, 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 though our paths may sever to life's last faint ember, will you remember springtime, love time, May? In that pivotal year, 1924, as I said, it was the year that Herbert died. It was the year of Rhapsody in Blue, this whole new form, the jazz age. And it was the year of really Romberg's his great launch into success, and that was The Student Prince. Set in Heidelberg, this young royal has come to sort of lead a common life, at least temporarily, fall in love with a barmaid. Alas, he has to go back to the throne, written with Dorothy Donnelly, again, another female lyricist, very prominent in the 1920s. Drink, 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 do eyes that are bright as stars when they're shining on me. Drink, 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 to lips that are red and sweet as the fruit on the tree. Here's the hope that those bright eyes will shine, lovingly, longingly soon into mine. May those lips that are red and sweet tonight with joy my own lips meet. Drink, drink, let the toast start. May young hearts never part. Drink, 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 let every true lover salute his sweetheart. Let's drink. The great waltz from Student Prince. Deep in my heart, dear, I have a dream of you, fashion of starlight, perfume of roses and dew. Our paths may sever, but I'll remember forever. Deep in my heart, dear, always I'll dream of you. In 1926, 2 years after The Student Prince, now he collaborated with the team that created Rosemarie, and that was Oscar Hammerstein and Otto Harbach. And this was The Age of Valentino. And now this is a Rudolph Valentino movie put on the musical stage called The Desert Song. Why waste your time in vague romancing when life itself is at your call? I come to you, my heart advancing. Oh, come to me and be my all. You turn away and yet you tremble. My little bird has wings, I see. Come, leave your cage and don't dissemble. If I but try, I'll make you fly with me. My desert is waiting, dear, come there with me. I'm longing to teach you love's sweet melody. I'll sing a dream song to you, painting a picture for two. Blue heaven and you and I, and sand kissing a moonlit sky, a desert breeze whispering a lullaby, only stars above you to see. I love you. Oh, give me that night divine, and let my arms in yours entwine. The desert song calling, its voice enthralling, will make you mine. 1928, with Oscar Hammerstein, Romberg wrote The New Moon. This was the year after Showboat. Talk about a different, again, overlapping of different sort of trends and styles and everything. Showboat and then The New Moon. Hammerstein still had his hand in operetta. This one, like Naughty Marietta, is set in New Orleans, so it's kind of it's an American operetta, I guess. Love came to me, gay and tender, love came to me, sweet surrender, love came to me, in bright romantic splendor. Fickle was she, faithful never, fickle was she, and clever, so will it be, forever and ever. Softly as in a morning sunrise, the light of love comes stealing into a newborn day. Oh, flaming with all the glow of sunrise, a burning kiss is sealing a vow that all betray. For the passions that thrill love and lift you high to heaven are the passions that kill love and let you fall to hell. So ends each story softly as in an evening sunset. The light that gave you glory will take it all away. You went away, I let you. We broke the ties that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past behind. Still the magic of the night I met you seems to stay forever in my mind. The sky was blue and high above, the moon was new, and so was love. This eager heart of mine was singing, lover, where can you be? You came at last, love had its day, that day is past, you've gone away. This aching heart of mine is singing, lover, come back to me. When I remember every little thing you used to do, I'm so lonely. Every road I walked along with you. No wonder I am lonely. The sky is blue, the night is cold, the moon is new, but love is old. And while I'm waiting here, this heart of mine is singing, lover, come back to me. Romberg would go to Hollywood, as everybody did in the 1930s, writing with Hammerstein there. When I grow too old to dream, I'll have you to remember. When I grow too old to dream, your love will live in my heart. So
Kiss me, my sweet, and so let us part. And when I grow too old to dream, that kiss live in my heart. Romberg would go on as a conductor, as I said, recordings and so on, was quite a prominent figure even in the 1940s. And sort of almost as an afterthought, a musical afterthought, he and Dorothy Fields, again not known for operetta, collaborated on an operetta called Up in Central Park, set at the turn of the century, so it was a kind of an old locale, and it sort of worked. Musically it works. Apparently the story didn't quite, it was about politics, Boss Tweed and Tammany Hall and all that stuff, so has a lovely score. Again, Dorothy Fields' wonderful lyrics. My joy in loving you is past understanding. It makes me much too eager, much too demanding. I'm a very selfish lover with a jealous heart. If you're across the room, I'd be alone. I need to feel your cheeks against my own. We'll be close as pages in a book, my love and I. So close, we could share a single look, share every sigh. So close, that before I hear your laugh, my laugh breaks through. And when a tear starts to appear, my eyes grow misty too. Our dreams won't come tumbling to the ground, we'll hold them fast. Darling, as the strongest book is bound, we're bound to last. Your life is my life, and while life beats away in my heart, we'll be close as pages in a book, never to part. And then a great colorful character from Up in Central Park, Fireman Joe McGee, who married in June, wants to be free. He bought a handsome love nest, but his high-flying spouse likes the firehouse. She wears a crimson shirt, a fireman's hat, red flannel shirt. Clang goes the bell, and she's off, boys, in a cloud of confusion and dirt. Oh, the fireman's bride won't sit home by her fireside. From all accounts, she'd rather bounce in the fireman's net. She leaps to the engine and clings to the hose. How she hangs on, nobody knows. Out comes the net and then over she goes. High up they throw her while she hollers, "Mow her!" The fireman's bride. People confide as the fireman goggle-eyed. High as a kite, ain't she a sight? Naughty fireman's bride. With his head bowed in grief, McGee gave his badge back to the chief. Chief, he says, "I'm resigning, but I'll donate my spouse to the firehouse." Then the chief said, "Of course, we've never employed girls on the force. But if you're throwing her out, son, she can sleep in with me and my horse." Oh, the fireman's bride hasn't got any fireside, but I believe she's got the chief, not to mention the horse. She runs up the ladder and swings to the roof, holding her skirts gaily aloof. Men, you remember, are not fireproof. They see what goes on and yell, "Turn the hose on!" The fireman's bride, flat on her hide, is extremely undignified. They leave a blaze burning for days for the fireman's bride. One could go on, but really, of course, it didn't go on. By the 1920s and really by the 1930s, operetta really was over. Certainly as a mainstream form of entertainment, it's still
Though is here because of charm, gaiety, romance, beauty, love, the positive, the optimistic side of life. It's not the whole picture, but civilization needs that. I mean, let's face it. I mean, life is very, very tough. And what would we be without music, without art, without this imagining things are better than they are, as they could be? Woe unto him who cannot get into the spirit. Romberg himself wrote, he said, nothing succeeds like a popular tune, a romantic tune. Romantic music will never die because deep at the root of all people is the theme of love. It's a mood and it's a spirit. And we draw from the past, as we draw much good from the past. It's corny, I suppose, yeah, fanciful, but it's the child within. Let's face it. We all need that. And once you pass its border, you can never go back again, according to the song, but you can in fairy tales and old movies and old stories and old photographs and operetta. Maybe you can go back. A place for life to ebb and flow, a place for love to live and grow. Vienna is her name, a fairyland of fame. When once you've heard her laughter gay, you weep when you are torn away. 1,000 memories call you back for one more day. As the years roll on, after youth has gone, you will remember Vienna. Nights that were happy and hearts that were free, all joined in singing a sweet melody. When your race is run, whether lost or won, you'll remember Vienna. You will recall Golden Bay, sweethearts who came and vanished away. Whence did they come? Where did they go? Vienna will never let you know. Sweetheart, 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 will you love me ever? Will you remember this day when we were happy in May, my dearest one? Sweetheart, 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 though our paths may sever, to life's last faint ember, will you remember springtime, love time, May? Well, we neglected to do the ultimate marching men song. Give me some men who are stout-hearted men, who will fight for the right they adore. Start me with 10 who are stout-hearted men, and I'll soon show you 10,000 more. Oh, shoulder to shoulder and bolder they grow as they go to the fore. Then there's nothing in this world can halt or mar a plan, when stout-hearted men and stick together, man to man. It was Jerome Kern and Oscar Hammerstein, just a year before that song was written for the New Moon, that carried forth the evolution of operetta into something totally American musical theater. And in a sense, certain things never did change, though, because at the heart of it, at the base of it all, romance remained the theme. We could make believe I love you, only make believe that you love me. Others find peace of mind in pretending. Couldn't you, couldn't I, couldn't we make believe our lips are blending in a phantom kiss, or 2 or 3? Might as well make believe I love you, for to tell the truth, I do. And in rather contrary to the spirit of operetta, I'm going to finish with something rather solemn here. There's a song in the air, but the fair señorita doesn't seem to care for the song in the air. So I sing to the mule, if you're sure she won't think that I am just a fool serenading a mule. Amigo mio, does she not have a dainty prey? She listens carefully to each little tune you play. La bella señorita, si si la muchachita, he'd love to sing it too if only she knew the way. But try as she may, in her voice there's a flaw. All that the lady can say is Señorita, don't get sick, not so fleet as a mosquito, but so sweet like my Chiquita, you're the one for me. There's a light in her eye, though she may try to hide it, she cannot deny. There's a light in her eye. Oh, the charm of her smile, so beguiled Don Diego, then he rode for miles for the charm of her smile. Amigo mio, is she listening to my song? No, no, mi muchachito, how can you be so wrong? La bella señorita, si, si, la muchachita, she'd love to sing it too, only she knew the way. Her face is a dream, like an angel I saw. But oh, that my darling can scream is Señorita, don't get sick, not so fleet as a mosquito, but my Chiquita, you're the one for me. Ole! Well, I hope you got into the spirit of operetta. It certainly is a lighthearted one, and God knows we need that. This is a tough world, and thank goodness for music like this, for the color and the romance of it all. It certainly does me good, and I hope it does you as well. Please go to fredmillermusic.com, which of course all my lectures and song are there listed and described in detail, and all of them are now recorded, pre-recorded, and available for online. And if you happen to live in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, which is my home turf, come and see me, and we'll enjoy all this great music together. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope you're in the operetta spirit, and I hope you keep singing. That is the most important. Sing whatever else life throws at you. It's worked for me. Thank you. I hope it works for you too as well. Many thanks, and until next time, take care.